You probably can't tell, but down there is the chassis of a Subaru Impreza WRX, and up here is the carcass of a Talbot Matra Rancho. This is my body swapped, fairly ambitious project where we've tried to marry these two cars into one. And in this episode, we'll show you how Yorkshire Car Restorations have managed to get this far on a car which started as an idea just because they have the identical wheelbase. I'm Jonny Smith, you're watching The Late Break Show. So Ryan, in the last episode, we got to as far, or you, I didn't do it, I haven't touched this car. We got as far as cleaning up the Impreza donor.
Yep.
Welding it, but not yet taking a grinder to it.
No. So we've done all of the rust repair. We've got the ice blasting on the underneath. We cleaned it all up, make sure we can make the actual Subaru base nice and structurally solid before actually putting the Rancho on.
Yeah.
So that was in our episode 8, I'm pretty sure. So then, obviously, we can lower it onto this jig and wheel it into this position where it's going to live for the foreseeable.
Start its journey.
Yes.
You should, if you haven't already, subscribed to the Yorkshire Car Restoration channel, because they have done every single step of this marriage of two becoming one, Rancho, Impreza, together.
Yeah.
This is more of a summary of the project, and at first I regretted having the idea, seeing the level of rot and inconvenience that you're experiencing, but now, as you can see from behind us, the car is actually in a state where things are meshing together.
Yeah, it's kind of all nicely falling into place, because when you came with the idea, it was like, how on earth are we going to pull this off? And it's like a crazy idea that you have but never happens, but we were determined to make it work.
Yeah.
And it can with enough thought, enough people thinking about it, enough effort and enough time.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, I mean, especially from this side, it doesn't actually look like a Subaru anymore.
No, it doesn't.
But obviously for the viewers, this is part of the Subaru, and we've got the engine bay, we've got the bulkhead, we've got the A-pillars of the Subaru itself.
This is just placed on.
Yes. And then we've got the rest of it, which is a Rancho. So actually nicely looks like a Rancho. So obviously, like you mentioned, the wheelbase front to back is actually millimetre perfect.
Yeah.
But side to side, we do have a slight discrepancy, as you can see at the in these locations where the A-pillars tie in, and that's going to be quite tricky to try and fabricate around to make the dashboard fit as well, and make the windscreen wipers work. But it's it's all part of the process, isn't it? It's all part of the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you got to this point of A-pillar, Subaru, Rancho cab being lowered onto it, let's go back in time.
Yeah.
You had to start slicing the Impreza.
Yes.
Because all we needed from the Impreza is this part of the front, and then that. And
basically all of the floor pan and the strut towers on the back. Yeah. So that's the main structural part of the car, and obviously we're reusing elements of the running gear anyway, and keeping the original running gear. So we need to make sure that these are structurally sound and correct. So we lowered the Subaru onto the jig. And the reason for that is because once we're cutting the monocoque of the Subaru, because obviously the Subaru is a monocoque, but the Rancho is like a bolt-on, like a frame and chassis and things like that. So it's sort of marrying two completely different cars together. But we wanted to make sure that the floor pan and the structural elements of the Subaru actually remains completely straight, utterly straight. So we've bolted it to the jig on the pinch welds on the bottom, and you can see that we've actually removed the outer panels of the sills as well.
Yes.
Yeah, to uncover, to obviously get the Rancho over there. But we've also braced the front and the back to make sure there's no flex. Because if we were to take the roof off of the Subaru, you could get a slight bit of flex in the actual in the floor pan.
You don't want to give in the chassis, really.
Exactly. So we've bolted it, we've welded it, we've attached it to the jig so it doesn't move anywhere, and now we're free to cut everything off and place the chassis on. So we used a variety of methods.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I was watching.
Yeah, we used an angle grinder with a cutting disc on one side, and then we used a laser cutter on the other side. And the laser cutter did a fantastic job. All you've just got to make sure that you don't burn anything behind it.
Yeah.
You know, so.
The laser cutter was unbelievable. The way it snipped through the Scooby's roof and...
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've used a laser cutter, and it was like a hot knife through butter.
It really was amazing.
It just went straight through. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. But it made light work of, you know, actually removing the B pillar and the roof and you know, because you've got inner structure inside of the roof pillars as well to make sure that the monocoque is actually strong.
Yeah.
And that's the reason for bolting it and welding it to this. But it just sliced through it dead easy. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So in those episodes leading up to the point that we see it now, which this is, by the way, this is placed over.
Yes.
This is not welded to the chassis of the Scooby yet, is it?
No.
So this is original Rancho, this grey bit, and obviously the cab, and then this inner strut tower here. This is Scooby, and that bit of bracing there's to just keep rigidity. So floor pan of Scooby, original strut tops. You've shaved and then put a closing piece on here. I watched that on your video.
Yeah.
And you've notched out this part of the Rancho's back end to fit around the structure.
Yeah, because this is a major part of the structure of the Subaru. Yeah. And because we're reusing these strut towers for the suspension and the drivetrain, we need to make sure that nothing moves. So that's a good example of the bracing that we've put in from each strut tower. Yeah. And we've got the same on these back chassis rails as well. Yeah. Basically, we didn't want anything to move while we're obviously doing the chop and while we're chopping the Rancho up as well. So with the Rancho being slightly narrower, we've then got to countersink parts of the Rancho into the strut tower of the Subaru to make sure that your back door fits. Yeah. Because often you kind of get a bit carried away and you start chopping things up and you start doing this and you think, the back door doesn't fit.
I actually needed that.
The front doors don't fit.
Yeah.
I needed that bit. So it's always good to chop a little bit more than you need off, and then you can, you know, always shave bits off and make things fit. And, you know, this is the time consuming thing, trying to make everything fit nicely and making sure that all your body lines are going to be correct, because we've got a rear hatch which opens like this.
That's right. The twin tailgate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And all that needs to fit, but also we've got a fiberglass body which needs to fit as well. And
there's no giving that really, is there?
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got the frame which actually sits on here. So these are your bolt holes for your frame.
For that frame there?
For that frame that's over there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then your fiberglass sits over the top of that.
Yeah, and then bolts into the back of the single cab.
Bolts into there, yeah.
It's in a very, very strange structure that Matra did, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's several ways you can support the Late Break Show, and one of those is by buying some of our merch in our merch shop. We've got various new products available, including this lovely lined thinsulate embroidered beanie. We've got a barn find version too. And as well as our normal regular mugs, we've got now a super duper tyre mug. And I am sure that coffee tastes better out of this larger mug. So this is the engine and gearbox of the Scooby that came out.
Yeah.
And this car had a head gasket problem when it came from Scooby Clinic, but it is rebuildable, and that's the idea. This is going to be going back to the Scooby Clinic, and it'll probably be rebuilt in relatively standard tune. Yeah. Because I think this is about 240 horsepower.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Enough horsepower, I think, for a Rancho.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be slightly lighter than what the Scooby was anyway.
Yeah.
So it's going to have plenty of power, you know, the Subarus do. And the good thing about this is it's the boxer engine. Yeah. So it's like a flat engine with two pistons either side. Yeah. And it actually lowers the centre of gravity of the engine, which made it good for the Subaru for racing and off-roading and stuff. Yeah. So it actually sits quite low in the engine bay. And then obviously they've got the top mounted intercooler, which isn't on at the moment, but that sits on the top, and the scoop that went in the bonnet as well. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but it'll be good to see it all nice and cleaned up.
It will.
And repaired.
And because you guys are keeping all of the engine bay architecture, we know this will fit because you're not changing the mountings or anything like that.
No, exactly, yeah. So this will go on the same mountings on the cradle, which is attached to the two chassis rails that go across the car,
Yeah.
this should fit dead easy. But I do know that the Rancho is slightly different geometry on the front, so it's a bit boxier, whereas the Subaru comes down at quite an angle.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit more aerodynamic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's changing the aerodynamics of the car. But it'll be nice to get it back in. Well, I think this was the reason why this was a parts car, because the engine head gasket had blown anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Scuba Clinic actually laid it up, and then obviously you got your hands on it, which is good. So thank you to Scuba Clinic, because it's actually a good donor to do.
It's a really good
body
donor.
swap. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this is now going to be strapped onto the pallet, go back to Scuba Clinic, and they can be cracking on with this while you guys crack on with the. You know, you've got a bit to do.
Oh yeah,
here and there.
Yeah, we've got a bit to do, but we will get there eventually. Got plenty of episodes. Yeah.
So obviously, because this is the Impreza chassis, this is also the Impreza dash structure here.
Yes.
And wiring loom.
Yeah. And you can kind of see in the corner there how we've had to countersink the door into the Subaru to make it work.
Yeah.
Because where the pillars come down of the Rancho, they're not as wide as the Subaru, but the door still needs to shut into the aperture of the Rancho.
Yeah.
So we've had to countersink the door into effectively where the door shut is of the Subaru to kind of make that work, to make the door fit, so it's not all the way out there.
Yeah.
But these are all the challenges that we're trying to overcome with doing such a crazy body swap, which was a crazy idea to start with, but it's kind of looking like it's going to work.
I was going to say the fit along here, because this, let me get this right. Yeah, this sill panel here is Rancho.
Yes, correct.
This aperture is obviously Rancho because this is the single cab pickup bit.
Yeah.
And that ends there. The Scooby starts here. They're both red to make it a bit confusing. You've sliced off the pressing of the closing panel of the sill. That's the cut line there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then this, you've unpicked the spot welds, I think, in one of the old previous episodes because I watched it.
Yeah.
And then you're offering this up.
Yeah, so we're basically making the Rancho pinch weld marry into the Subaru pinch weld to make sure the height is correct.
That's so cool.
Because this is a very important structural part of the car that needs to be welded correctly.
Yeah.
So that needs to marry into there, and then it needs to marry on this inner edge here as well.
Yeah.
But it's actually amazing the fact that when you actually line that up, it's almost like it's the same car.
Yeah, I know. And because it's the same colour, it properly confused me.
Yeah, well, that marries up really nicely, which is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've obviously got all of the dashboard in here. With this being so complex, we didn't want to strip too much because we've got to do a lot of welding in here, and this is double skinned anyway.
Yeah.
But we cover this over whenever we're doing welding or cutting. Because we want to maintain this, because when you start taking things apart, things get lost, broken, and then it just turns into an absolute nightmare. And that's why you can see all these wires here. But it's going quite well, actually.
Yeah, really good. So this part here, which didn't really exist on the original Rancho, you might remember the rot was so extensive here, it had dissolved.
Yep.
You're keeping the Impreza structure here, so you're going to adapt these hinge bolt mounting points for the Rancho door.
Yeah, for the Rancho doors, yeah. So we just need to look at the original hinges on the Rancho to see if we can make it work with either these original bolt holes, which are for the Subaru doors, or if we can fabricate something in there to make it work.
Yeah.
But here you can see a good example of how it doesn't fit.
Yes.
So that's where the Rancho door should sit, but this is where the Subaru door aperture is. So we've had to cut a little notch out of your door here and down to countersink it into here.
Yeah.
But then that could be an issue with your dashboard.
So this is for a future episode, but basically this is the difference between a 70s car and a 90s car. Everything got more aerodynamic, the A-pillar got more and more laid back, dashes started off in the 70s like this, and nowadays, you know, dashes are this deep, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got to work out the compromise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to completely trash the Scooby dash, and because we probably will end up keeping all of the controls where they are, but we might disguise them.
Yeah, because
that's for a future.
You've got a lot of creature comforts in here as well. You know, like your heater matrix and everything that you will want to keep. You know, for usability. But the importance of this A-pillar is not only the structure, but we need that dimension from there to the Rancho for your door to fit.
Exactly.
So that then depicts where this is going to sit. 'Cause this can't sit too far forward or back because it's where your door aperture is.
Yeah.
But then that means that this is going to sit on your dashboard.
Yeah.
So that's a whole new level of fabrication and thinking about that you need to get over to try and make this work.
Yeah.
So
and you've got to keep the windscreen as was.
Yeah.
Because you can't. I don't want a custom windscreen. That's ludicrous.
Exactly. And even though it looks like we're almost there, we've still got a whole lot more to do.
Yeah.
We've still got a whole lot more thinking in the A-pillars, in this, in the windscreen wipers, in the dashboard, in every sense of it.
Yeah.
So in here, it does actually look like everything fits really nicely.
Yeah.
Your door fits in there. Obviously, we need to slightly amend it, but it fits down there and it fits all the way around.
Yeah.
So it does fit really well. But like I say, there's still a lot of challenges to get over to be able to make the dream come true, to make the marriage work.
Yeah.
And
To make the marriage work.
Yes.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
So
But, yeah, like I say, the good thing is that we've managed to get the height correct.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That is really, really good.
It's fascinating the fact that it actually works.
Yeah, I know.
It's-
It's not as it's not as alien as it ought to be, really.
Yeah. And it's like making the impossible actually possible. Yeah.
So between the last episode of ours of the Late Break Show's summary on the Rancho and this one, what have been your biggest challenges?
Trying to make, like say, the marriage work.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what we need. We always need to be like 10 steps ahead of where we are, because we can't just weld this together and then figure out actually we need to then cut through it to make the dashboard work.
Yeah.
So we need to think ahead. So before we weld anything onto the Subaru, we need to test fit the dashboard. We need to test fit the running gear. We need to get the wheels on. We need to get the suspension on. We need to make sure everything works geometry.
Yeah.
And then we can obviously then weld it on.
Yeah.
But it's also like the back door things that you can't see at the moment. We need to think, right, the back door needs to fit. We can't alter the fiberglass without doing too much fiberglass work.
Yeah.
We need to make the door fit between the fiberglass.
Yeah.
Do we then extend the door, or do we countersink these back box sections into the strut towers?
Yeah.
They're all questions that we need to ask, and you need to be 10 steps ahead of where you are before you can start going happy with a welder.
Yeah.
Because we could weld this on and make it look like a Rancho and then jobs are good, but then, you know, maybe your bonnet doesn't fit. If it's wider on the front, you might have to extend your wings, you might have to extend your bonnet forward. There's a lot of questions that you need to ask yourself.
That's a good question, actually. Come around here, because from this angle here, you can see this was one of the big differences of the front end. Obviously,
Yes.
all of this is staying Subaru, so that the engine and all the ancillaries fit in here. But you can have a closing panel. You're going to have this really transplanted onto the front of the Scooby's skeleton.
Yeah,
and then the outer wings have got to mesh into that. And the Subaru was more of a slanty-nosed car,
yeah,
whereas the Rancho is
it's kind of more of a boxes section, so you can see this gap here that we're going to have to make up with some metal.
Yeah.
But also, this inner frame of the Subaru is actually wider than what it is on the Rancho. So the wings can only go so far in because they need to match the door and they need to be bolted to some structure.
Yes.
But then if we put the wing on that side and try to put the bonnet in, the bonnet's going to be too narrow.
Of course.
So we're going to have to extend the wings slightly further in, which means that these bolt points are going to have to be extended further in as well.
Yeah.
So that's all things that we need to think about before we get too far ahead.
Yeah.
We need to close this gap with probably some steel in here and raise this up so we've got a good structure to bolt these to.
Yeah.
But if you come around this side, you can see this door fitting quite nicely.
You'll see it's a gold door, not a red door, and that's because this is one of the donor panels that I got from Dick Husband last time when I found his Aladdin's cave of Matra Rancho Simca bits.
Yes.
Probably the only man in the country that has any.
So we decided to use this door as a test subject to see if it'll actually work.
Yeah.
So we've got a good gap along the top and the side, but then, as you can see, you've got some rotation there which we need to sort.
Yeah.
But then that depicts where your wing goes because you need a good gap between your wing, and then you've got this swage line here that needs to be spot on with the car.
Of course.
So then that shows you how much you need to build the front up by.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of engineering going on here.
Yes. yes.
But you said
I enjoy.
I was going to say, you said earlier you like the challenge of it.
I used to be a civil engineer, so I enjoy solving problems. I enjoy doing things that haven't been done before.
Right.
And proving that things work.
Yeah.
Because also, you can see here that this is where the old windscreen used to be bonded to.
Yes.
So obviously the windscreen for the Rancho is further back, which means it's going to be sat on the dashboard. So all of the structure for this needs to be removed to get your dashboard in. So then how do we make this work? Because we've got a big space between the A-pillar and, you know, where the A-pillar used to be on the Rancho.
Yeah.
So something we could do is extend this from here onto here so the rain channel still work.
Yeah.
And then we can cover that simply like that.
Like that, and then work out what you're going to do with wipers after.
Exactly.
This area here has got to be the biggest part of surgery on the whole car.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Not only because it doesn't work, but also because it's a major structural part of the car as well.
Yeah. Talking of structural rigidity, that was going to be my other question. Because it's going from being a full roofed car to now being a pickup truck,
Yeah.
is there going to need to be any other bracing to keep it rigid? Obviously you've got strut tops.
Yeah. So when we actually weld this on, this will add more structure back into the car.
Yeah.
So obviously we used to have a roof pillar that went up here and a full roof up there. So when we do weld this back on, it will gain some of that structure back. But what we put in is going to be thicker than the original anyway. So we're going to reinforce this with more steel to make sure that it's good enough. And then all of this will act kind of as a sort of monocoque for the Subaru.
Yeah.
The only challenge that we will have is back here.
Yes.
Because we don't have anything that's going to be welded or bolted between this except for the back door. So we need to think about structural load paths and things and how this is going to work, because effectively this is a monocoque car and we're putting a pickup truck style body on top.
Yes.
So we need to think about the back. The front is not too bad, but the back we need to think about how we're going to keep it from flexing.
Yeah.
As you can see at the moment, we've got this in there. This big box section here will add quite a lot of strength, and especially because we're welding it into the strut tower.
Yes.
But we need to think about structural rigidity in the back of it as well. Because obviously you used to have a big pillar that came down here on the Subaru that came down to here, and then it was joined by a roof. With the Rancho, you don't quite
And
have
of course
that.
it had a steel parcel shelf as well, because it's a saloon.
It did indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a parcel shelf that went across there.
Yeah.
And we replaced it with this bar because we didn't need the parcel shelf.
Yeah.
But the actual Rancho shelf that comes up and across is a bolt-on, bolt-off.
This thing.
Yeah, that's a bolt-on, bolt-off thing. It adds a little bit of structure, but nothing major. So we need to think about some sort of structure in here.
And just to make matters a little bit more complicated, if in an ideal world, I'd like it to be a 7-seater, because that was the original option on the Rancho. So 2 seats at the front, 3 in the middle, and then 2 facing back outwards, 80s health and safety spec. The boot floor was cut out on the original Scooby donor car from Scooby Clinic, so that's why that's missing.
Yeah.
But it might play to our favour, because you probably will have had to have remodelled it anyway. But
well, what we can do is we can countersink this down, so the back passengers have got some sort of footwell
right
situation there.
Yeah.
And then we can use something very similar to this to be able to create that transition between the front-facing back seats and the back-facing back seats. So then we can tie the strut towers in together and make what used to be the parcel shelf.
Yes.
But use that as the
brace.
transition. Yeah.
Great idea.
Which could then add the structural integrity that we need in the back.
Yeah.
Because if not, then it's just going to be all open as it is now. So
yeah, there's a lot going on here.
There is, and especially when it does get to a point where we've finished the build, it then needs a road safety check as well to make sure it's roadworthy, potential on a Q plate or something. But it needs that safety check to make sure that everything's structurally sound.
Yeah.
So we need to be ahead of time, making sure that we do meet the criteria that they're going to set to make sure that you can drive this on the road.
Yeah.
And they'll be looking at this. They'll be looking at a monocoque car with effectively a pickup truck on it, and then how does that then interfere with all the structural integrity of everything? So a lot of thinking.
A lot of thinking, Ryan. Bloomin' heck.
The vision is getting there.
The vision, of 2 becoming 1. Can you do that for me, Spice Girls?
Yeah, two becoming one, yeah.
Two becoming one.
When two become one.
Yeah.
I can't sing it though.
It's the only good Spice Girls track, I will stand by that. Two, obviously, Rancho Impreza becoming one.
Yes.
Rancho WRX.
Two, in effect, scrap cars becoming one.
This is true, but that was too many words for the Spice Girls.
Oh yes, of course.
Two scrap/donor vehicles becoming one roadworthy vehicle. Well, I hope you're enjoying as much as I am how this is coming together, but if you wanted to see everything in much more detail than what we've done on our show, go to Yorkshire Car Restoration's YouTube channel and you'll see every single part of the process of how they arrived here. Soon I'll give you another update of how they're getting on and start stitching the Rancho body properly onto the Subaru skeleton. Meanwhile, engine and gearbox are off for a rebuild. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to join us as a Patreon, you get early access to videos like this and you get a weekly blog from behind the scenes from yours truly. And remember, we have a merch shop, we have new merch. Go have a look.